he estado 3-4 meses preso y hubiera ido para Honduras.
It's what you and I were talking about. He says that if he comes here with his son, then he's allowed to stay.
Y quiero,
Otherwise, he thinks he's allowed to stay.
He thinks he's allowed.
¿Quién le dijo eso?
No, eso es en todo el país, eso es una noticia. Pero yo
pero esa noticia que se dice de persona en persona, lo dicen los coyotes o
So this is word of mouth.
coyotes, smugglers, word of
The
mouth.
smugglers are telling them, you bring your kid, you can get in.
If he comes here with his son, then he's allowed to stay. Our current political class has spent years pretending that is not true. In villages across Central America, they know it is true. Come to America, bring your kids, free schools, free health care, higher wages. They can't kick you out. If you lived in Honduras, you'd come here too. We're begging them to come here. No wonder our immigration is out of control. They know that we are happy to give our country away as we are. Lawmakers are allowing this to happen. They could close the loopholes that allow it in about an hour, but they haven't done that. They likely won't do it. They show no interest in the effects this invasion is having on normal Americans. The suppressed wages, the stolen identities, the clogged emergency rooms and failing public schools, the fentanyl crisis. They don't care. The Chamber of Commerce tells us that everything is fine. Just yesterday, they attacked the White House for even suggesting we might have to shut down the border to protect the country. Guacamole prices might rise. Democrats, meanwhile, rejoice in the scale of this disaster. More illegal immigration means more power for them. They're actively for it. Everyone running for the Democratic nomination agrees on this.
If you could, would you take the wall down now? Here.
Yes.
Like you have a wall.
Absolutely.
Knock it down.
Offer a home to refugees. That is who we are. That's our values. That's part of what we do.
So instead of building a wall or closing the border, we should choose compassion instead of cruelty.
We welcome refugees and bring people out of the shadows.
Spending as a down payment $5.7 billion on a wall is not an effective use of tax dollars when we talk about border security. There are better ways to do it.
Immigration is not a security issue. It is an economic and a humanitarian and a family issue. There is no such thing as an illegal human.
There's no such thing as an illegal human, says a city. They're actively for it. Everyone running for the Democratic nomination agrees on this.
If you could, would you take the wall down now? Here.
Yes.
Like you have a wall.
Absolutely.
Knock it down.
Offer a home to refugees. That is who we are. That's our values. That's part of what we do.
So instead of building a wall or closing the border, we should choose compassion instead of cruelty.
We welcome refugees and bring people out of the shadows.
Spending as a down payment $5.7 billion on a wall is not an effective use of tax dollars when we talk about border security. There are better ways to do it.
Immigration is not a security issue. It is an economic and a humanitarian and a family issue. There is no such thing as an illegal human.
There's no such thing as an illegal human, says a sitting United States senator. So no, Congress is not going to fix this. Our big cities won't help. They're all sanctuaries for illegals now. The courts aren't helping. It's not their job to protect the border anyway. It's the job of the executive branch. It always has been. So how are they going to fix this? Kirstjen Nielsen is the Secretary of Homeland Security, and she joins us now. Ms. Secretary, thanks very much for coming on tonight.
My pleasure.
So what is the executive branch doing now to fix this?
Well, you probably don't have enough time for me to tell you all the things. I mean, look, just as you said at the top of your introduction, the president predicted this as a candidate. He predicted this before he was a candidate.
Right.
He continues to show leadership and to raise the alarm bells, but only now are we starting to see in mainstream press, not on this particular channel, that there is a crisis, and that's what there is. So what we're doing is we have announced that we are sending more migrants back to Mexico to await their immigration proceedings. We are pulling folks from the ports of entry to help interdict those who are choosing to come here illegally. It is a crime, despite what you just showed sitting senator saying, it is a crime to come illegally between ports of entry, to stop them and to provide humanitarian assistance. By the smugglers, they are coming through remote areas. They're sicker than we've ever seen before.
Yes. So will we see an executive order from the White House to make E-Verify nationwide, to punish employers who are setting the bait in this trap, who are encouraging illegal aliens to come into this country.
That is part of the problem. I mean, I think what you saw also in the clip that you showed is many of the people coming are economic migrants. They are not truly seeking asylum. Right. We want to help those who are, but many of them have been given magic words to come in and to get a job and take that job away from an American. So we are looking to increase rates at E-Verify. We've made it easier for employers to comply with it, but we're looking to do everything we can throughout the system to apply penalties where we can.
Well, how about this? Why wouldn't your agency write an executive order, present it to the president, have him sign it, and do it tomorrow?
Everything is on the table. We'll do everything we can within our authorities.
What's the argument against doing that?
There's just a debate with Congress as to whether the executive branch has the authority to do that. We can expand the program, but right now it's only authorized in a voluntary way, not a mandatory way. So we can do it, but as you know, what happens when we do is we get enjoined by the courts. So it's one of many issues we're looking to work with Congress on. We'll continue to drive that.
Do you think, I mean, it looks from, I mean, you probably have fresher knowledge than we do out here, but it looks like Congress is not going to act because one party has a vested interest in changing the population, and the other party is, in effect, controlled by people who want illegal immigration. So would there be a downside for the president to act unilaterally on that question? Or for example, birthright citizenship? Would you be willing to draft an executive order eliminating birthright citizenship?
I think, Tucker, I think the president's been clear. All of that is on the table, including to close down the border. Right. We have to stop this flow into our communities. We have to stop the drugs. We have to stop the smuggling and trafficking and gangs. Right. He's very serious about it. So, yes, I think everything is on the table. In the meantime, I remain optimistic in the sense that I refuse to believe that the United States Congress will not act. It's not a partisan issue.
But no, it's not. And of course, I agree. And we've spent, countless hours on making that exact point. But here you have a president who ran on the promise, it really was the central promise of his campaign, to secure the border, and things seem less under control now than they did then. And so when you ask about it, the answer is, well, Congress won't act when everyone knows they're never going to act. And so it does seem a little like buck passing. If you see what I mean.
I do. I would say I would expand that group a little bit. You mentioned the courts.
Yes,
we have a lot of, in my opinion, court decisions that do not understand the full situation, the operational realities that we face every day.
Right.
But it's also the criminals, and I think you saw that in the clip too. The smugglers are more active than ever before at advertising how to come into this country with a child. We've broken up so-called child recycling rings, if you can believe it, in the last couple months, which is where smugglers kidnap a child, they give it to an adult to cross the border, present themselves as a family. Once they get in, because as you know, we can only hold families for 20 days, they send a child back and bring the child back with another family, another fake family, another adult. So the criminals play a huge part of this. We're working to crack down on all the transnational criminals, the gangs and smuggling and trafficking. But I cannot be clear, and I don't think the president can be any clearer. He will take every action within his authority to stop this flow.
Yeah. So does the U.S. government know exactly how many people are living in this country illegally? I've seen academic studies that put that number between 11 million, 22 million, maybe more. What is the real number?
We debate it. I think that's accurate.
So we don't know.
We do not know. No. And part of that, think about it, part of it is because we do not have the wall that the president continues to advocate for. We cannot in every circumstance tell you who is crossing the border. We have a much better handle.
You run a law enforcement agency,
I
among other many roles, but it's law enforcement.
The largest law enforcement agency in the country.
That's right. Probably the world, actually.
Yeah, probably.
So that must be a grave concern to you, that we potentially have more than 10 million people here whose identities we don't know, could be over 20, whose identities we don't know, and they could be anybody.
Yes.
And so why is that not the single most pressing problem the country has?
In my opinion, right now, this is one of, if not the biggest crisis this country has faced in a decade. Truly. I mean, the security aspects of this, the humanitarian aspects of this have got to be addressed. So I agree with you. This is at the very top of our list at DHS. We've announced today that we're now treating this like a massive Cat 5 hurricane disaster. We are bringing all of the interagency together. We're asking everybody everybody to chip in. We need to surge down as many resources as we can to the border. But Congress needs to look at this as a hurricane too, right? Where is the supplemental? Where are the additional authorities?
Of course.
Where is the way to address
But I mean, I've covered hurricanes and natural disasters, and you see men in uniform with rifles. You see the National Guard there.
Yep.
I read a bunch of background quotes from flag officers in the United States military who said that's a frivolous duty for us. We've got a real duty is over in Syria or whatever, some other country. Why wouldn't we put the U.S. military along our border if it's really a crisis of that magnitude?
I think we're looking into that. We've made the request. I'm in constant contact with the Acting Secretary of Defense. I talked to some of the combatant commanders today. We are, in fact, pushing more and more military resources to the border. And that's what's required.
I mean, but the president is the commander-in-chief of the military. Would it be possible for him to say, we're moving troops to the border tomorrow? And this is, I mean, he could say we're moving troops to Venezuela tomorrow if he wanted, but he can't do it to our own border?
No, I think he absolutely, of course, has full authority to defend our country.
Right.
And I think that's what he's moving to do. I mean, his statements in the last week about closing the border are a perfect example. He will take all action that is required to do this. So, yes, it's on the table. We're actively moving in discussions about moving more troops down now. We're working with the National Guards, working with the states. But absolutely, DOD plays a huge part of this.
So just one last question, and I don't even know if you have an answer, but why is it that the press, many in Congress, don't seem to recognize the magnitude of this? Do you think it's that they don't know the details, or they don't care? Do you want to speculate as to why no one's responding?
I mean, look, at this point, I'll be blunt. I think they're blinded by politics. Unfortunately, they are blinded for what they see as a request from this administration instead of looking at the requests and the way in which it is directly affecting Americans. I mean, you mentioned fentanyl.
Yeah.
Last year alone, CBP and ICE interdicted more fentanyl to kill every American 4 times. I mean, the effects that this is having in American society cannot be understated.
I agree with that. Do we have any sense of how much got through without being
we do not, but the good news is the president requested and did receive additional resources at the border to interdict drugs, and we are actively implementing this. But to your point, the facts don't lie. So I don't believe that they don't see it or they don't understand it. They are just willfully choosing to ignore it. But the more Americans who suffer, they're going to have to look at this. I hope they do it sooner than later.
I hope so, too. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Britt Hume is the senior political analyst here at Fox News, and he joins us tonight. Britt, thanks a lot for coming on. You just heard the DHS secretary describe our immigration system, the state of it now, as a, quote, massive Cat 5 hurricane disaster. Doesn't seem like anyone in Washington is acting like it's that.
Well, I think the president is trying. I mean, he's talking about closing the border. That's no small thing. And you heard all the caterwauling that all across town today when he said that. So, yeah, he's doing what he can, and he's never stopped talking about this issue. There really is a problem, though. As you pointed out, Tucker, the media only now are beginning to awaken to the fact that when the president said there was a crisis on the border, an emergency at the border, that he was absolutely right. And the circumstances that you described, Tucker, of the confluence of the state of our laws and leaving them vulnerable, our border vulnerable to people who show up claiming asylum, which didn't used to be the case. That wasn't the way it used to work. It used to be, as you pointed out, single men sneaking across the border. Now it's very different. And the combination of our laws and what the courts and how the courts have interpreted them have left us more or less defenseless against this surge of migrants across the border. And it really is an issue that requires a change in the law. And the Democrats do not want to play along. Now, they may be awakening to the fact that people are starting to get really upset about this, but they have 2 reasons. One is ideological. They really do believe, many of them, that we are this great land that should take care of the downtrodden people of the earth. And make no mistake about it, Tucker, these people who come from those Central American countries are among the downtrodden people of the earth.
For sure.
Those places are terrible, and they're making a harrowing journey through Mexico to get here. But the second reason is obviously political. They believe that these are the kinds of people that, if they are the compassionate party that encourages them to be let into the country, that they will end up voting Democrat. So for reasons both ideological and political, they don't want to do much about this. Now, it may be getting so bad now that they'll have to, but so far that's been the situation.
So you heard the secretary say, and I guess we knew this, but it's so striking to hear a senior official admit it out loud, that we really have no idea how many people, foreign nationals, are living illegally within our borders to within 10 million people. We have no idea. How could that be?
That's right. Well, it could be for one thing because, they melt away into the interior and we lose track of them. So we don't know how many are here. People get deported and sneak back in. We don't know how many have crossed the border that we didn't see or catch or didn't come through a port of entry. This current group, of course, is more likely to be able to be counted because they're not trying to really sneak in. They're just trying to get on American soil and give themselves up, knowing that they can't be immediately deported. But there's also that, which gets to the question about that the administration wanted to put on the census form, which is whether you're an American citizen or not.
Right.
And that's so far been blocked, and for the political reasons that you and I have discussed. But that would be one way to do it, wouldn't it?
It would be, and another way maybe to address the problem would be to penalize people for making the problem worse, and you would do that by making E-Verify national. And why wouldn't you do that by executive order?
Well, from what she said, it sounds as if there's some legal issues involved in that. I'm not an authority on that, but obviously it makes sense to do that. And every bill that ever comes along, that's ever offered, you can't pass one, but every bill that's ever offered has that provision in it to make E-Verify universal.
Yeah, the previous president had no problem increasing illegal immigration with executive orders, I noticed. And he did.
Well, he certainly wanted to increase legal immigration. And of course, one of the debates among immigration restrictionists is whether we have not only too much illegal immigration, which nobody says they favor, but we also have, in their view, too much legal immigration.
Yeah.
We obviously don't have a hard-headed immigration policy where the people that we admit are people who meet some criterion of likely to succeed here and make a contribution to society, which would be a hard-headed policy. In fact, the most hard-headed policy of all, you could never enact it, would be one where your likelihood of being able to stay would depend on how hard it was for you to get here. Like the Vietnamese people who crossed in those boats after the end of the Vietnam War and became tremendously successful in a generation.
Exactly right.
That have made an enormous contribution to this country. And it's not at all clear to me, Tucker, that these people who are coming all across Mexico through Central America on that harrowing trip, who show the wherewithal they do to get here, might not end up making excellent citizens. But under the current circumstances, they just melt away into the interior and we lose track of them. And I'm not even sure their prospects are very good under the circumstances. They remain living in the shadows.
If you begin your time here by scamming our system, it's not a good way to start, I would say.
Exactly.
Britt Hume, great to see you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tucker.
A sheriff in the state of Colorado tonight says he will go to jail before he enforces a law he believes is unconstitutional. It's a law that would take guns away from law-abiding citizens without due process. We'll investigate what's happening out there after the break. Plus, new developments tonight in the ongoing saga of Jussie Smollett. That's straight ahead.
This year, WrestleMania week hits even harder as SiriusXM's Busted Open celebrates its 10th anniversary with a special live broadcast Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Dave LaGreca and his co-host WWE Hall of Famers Bully Ray and Mark Henry will be joined by special guests, including actor and former WCW champion David Arquette and WWE Hall of Famers Eric Bischoff and Jim Ross. Plus, catch Busted Open's complete Mania coverage at 9 a.m. Eastern all week on SiriusXM Fight Nation.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hobart, president of Dick's Sporting Goods. I know personally how important sports are to our kids. That's why we've been working hard to make it easier for them to play. I invite you to come into our stores or shop us online. You won't believe all the changes that we've made at Dick's. We have more baseball and softball gear than ever before, an incredible selection of top running shoes, and we've got the hottest clubs in golf like the Callaway Epic Flash and TaylorMade M5 and M6. Stop into Dick's today to see all of the great changes we've made.
An identity thief almost stole my friend's home. Bill O'Reilly here with a warning about home title theft. Your home title and mortgage are online. Thieves know it. With my friend, they found the title, forged documents, and created chaos. Once thieves get your home's title, they can take out loans and drain all your equity. You can literally lose your home. No identity theft protection. Homeowner's policy or bank protects you. Home Title Lock is the only company that protects your home from title thieves. For just pennies a day, Home Title Lock puts a barrier around your home's title and mortgage. The instant they detect tampering, they're on it. Here's what you should do. Go to HomeTitleLock.com HomeTitle.com and register your home to find out if your title has already been hacked. If you register your home now, you will receive a free title scan and report, $100 value, absolutely free. So please go to HomeTitleLock.com, HomeTitleLock.com.
Guys, you spend 90% of your day in underwear. It's literally the foundation of your wardrobe. And the more comfortable you are at your foundation, the more confident you will be everywhere else. Hi, I'm Brian Berger, founder of Mack Weldon. 6 years ago, I set out to reinvent men's basics. We started by making underwear that is so comfortable, it's like nothing you've ever worn before. No more feeling sweaty, rolling waistbands, or legs that ride up. We use top-shelf materials like Pima cotton and are the first to use real silver woven into the fabric for its natural anti-odor properties. Plus, it keeps you cool all day. Hundreds of thousands of guys wear Mack Weldon, and we're proud to be called the Apple of underwear. There's no risk to try them on. If you don't love your first pair, it's on us. Get 20% off your first order at MackWeldon.com, promo code Fox News. But only to the end of the month. That's 20% off at MackWeldon.com, promo code Fox News. MackWeldon.com, promo code Fox News.
SiriusXM. This is SiriusXM.
Weeknights, Laura Ingraham is taking on issues with a pragmatic stance. It's the Ingraham Angle. Weeknights at 10 p.m. East, 7 West on Fox News Channel, SiriusXM Channel 114.
Lawmakers in the state of Colorado are currently considering what they're calling a red flag bill on firearms. The legislation would allow the seizure of guns from law-abiding citizens. The only requirement is that a family member, a roommate, somebody, or the police petition a judge that that person poses a danger. No due process, no criminal conviction required. The sheriff of Weld County, Colorado, Steve Reams, says the law would be unconstitutional. Not only can he not uphold it, he will not enforce it and go to jail if forced to.
If the bill becomes law, I don't have the option to enforce this. I think it violates the Constitution, and that in turn would force me to violate my oath of office.
Colin Noir is an NRA TV host, and he joins us tonight. Colin, thanks a lot for coming on. So why is it that the Second Amendment is the one right enumerated in the Bill of Rights that can be stripped from a citizen without due process?
Well, the problem is that you have a group of people in this country who understand the power and the influence of the Second Amendment, which basically gives the power to the people. And when you're talking about a group of people who want to exercise control, well, that's going to be the biggest threat to that. So what do? You come up with laws that create a fake due process, so to speak, in order to take that right away from people. Because that's essentially what this is. It's kind of a tofu due process. Yeah.
That's nicely put. That's exactly what it is. But no one is I mean, first of all, we have a process. No one is arguing that the mentally ill, people who pose an imminent danger, ought to be waving guns around, but we have a process for disarming them, right? If you commit a crime and you are convicted, you don't get to possess a firearm. So that's in place. Is anyone suggesting a process for taking away your right to vote without a trial?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, but if you're not, if we don't trust you to have a gun, why would we trust you to choose our leaders?
Exactly. And that's what I'm understanding. It's almost as if they're trying to create a kind of quasi-minority report system in America. I can understand that there's an element in this country that does not like the idea of the Second Amendment. And that's fine. You can not like the Second Amendment. But guess what? It's still a constitutional right. And we have to abide by that. And because it's a constitutional right, that means you have to afford me due process when you decide that you may or may not want to take that right away from me. That's the way this country works.
Right. And you would think that people who went to law school, as virtually everyone running for president did, almost all of them, not all. Senator Cory Booker, for example, went to Yale Law School. You are releasing a new video about his rhetoric at a recent town hall. You wanted to show some of it tonight to our audience. We've got a preview right here.
Absolutely.
I get that Cory Booker thinks he's some modern-day Spartacus. I am Spartacus. But on the issue of the Second Amendment, he's more like a constitutional oligarch, where it's guns okay for us, but not for y'all. You actually admit, without realizing it, that the draconian gun laws of New Jersey, which you adamantly support, don't do anything to stop criminals from getting guns. Because as you put it,
the majority of guns that we recover don't even come from New Jersey. They don't come from criminal gun runners who are not law-abiding citizens who should have a First and Second Amendment right.
Exactly, Corey. When you push laws that take away guns from law-abiding citizens, the only people who will have them will be the criminals.
That whole video is on our Facebook page, by the way, and it's excellent. So I loved your point about the oligarchy. So Cory Booker's not suggesting that his bodyguards disarm, is he?
Oh, no, not at all. Even more so in New Jersey. Like, people ask me all the time, like, what's my biggest issue with Cory Booker on the Second Amendment? Well, all you have to do is look at the state of the Second Amendment in New Jersey. It's practically dead. You can barely own a gun, much less be able to carry one, yet he's supposed to be a protector of the Constitution. This is the same guy we want running our country when he doesn't even respect the Second Amendment for everyone else. This is supposed to be the man of the people, the Spartacus, so to speak. It's a joke. It's the same type of joke that you have with these red flag laws that supposedly have due process. They don't.
But what's interesting is every politician I'm aware of in the state of New Jersey has a retinue of armed state employees around him, whereas if you live in Newark or Patterson or Camden or one of the many poor places in that state, you can't defend yourself.
Exactly. It's straight up and down elitism. That's pretty much what this is. It's basically saying, I'm important enough to be protected by guns. You are not. Not only that, I don't want you to even have the guns to possibly maybe sort of kind of use them against me because they make me feel uncomfortable with the regular normal people having firearms. And that's essentially what we're looking at here with respect to New Jersey. And this is the same person who wants to bring this to a national level. I'm sorry, I'm not for it.
Yeah, you disarm first. I'm important enough to be protected by guns. You are not. I'm putting that on my fridge.
Pretty much.
Pauline North, thank you. Good to see you tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Well, Jim Comey appeared on CNN today, as he often does, but for once, Comey was not the least impressive person on the set. That title went unequivocally to CNN's chief international anchor, Christiane Amanpour, likely the most overrated person in journalism. At one point, Amanpour asked Comey why the FBI didn't move to suppress public criticism of Hillary Clinton during the last election. She actually said that. Watch.
Of course, lock her up was a feature of the 2016 Trump campaign. Do you, in retrospect, wish that people like yourself, the head of the FBI, I mean, the people in charge of law and order, had shut down that language, that it was dangerous potentially, that it could have created violence, that it's kind of hate speech? Should that have been allowed?
That's not a role for government to play. The beauty of this country is people can say what they want, even if it's misleading and it's demagoguery.
Do you wish you'd shut that down, Mr. FBI Director? So according to CNN's most famous anchor, federal agents with guns should have swooped into Trump rallies and arrested anyone who loudly criticized Hillary Clinton because it's, quote, hate speech, meaning speech Hillary Clinton hates. Christiane Amanpour said that on television. You just saw it. She didn't misspeak. That's what she thinks. That's what a lot of people on the left think. The very same people calling you a fascist because you don't believe in academic gender theory or the global warming apocalypse or whatever other dumb idea they're forcing down your throat. They'd like the FBI to arrest you for saying the wrong thing. Let's just pray they never get power. Well, Democrats are now the party of Me Too. They believe all women, obviously, and yet Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax is still in office. Joe Biden looks likely to survive new accusations against him, some accusations in just about 20 minutes ago. What is going on over there? Tammy Bruce, after the break.
Over 100 extra music channels are now online and on the app. Sample some of them this week on your satellite radio. Listen to decades of music with 70s, 80s, 90s. Cool down to mellow beats with chill hop. And right now, get grilling with classic rock barbecue. Explore SiriusXM's extra channels all month long on Spotlight Channel 4.
Attention investors, not earning 18 to 21%? Then you're losing. Big time. National Realty's Class A property fund includes prime income producing property built far below market value. You're secured, you're recession proof. With large apartment buildings, you're diversified. This portfolio has $600 million in new construction equity value. Once you see these Class A locations, you'll wonder what took you so long to call. Call 201-210-2727. That's 201-210-2727. An offer to buy or sell any security is only made by our private placement memorandum. Read it first and invest wisely. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. See us at nria.net.
If a dirty CPAP is making you sick, you're not alone.
I was getting sinus infections because I wasn't cleaning my CPAP properly, and that continued until I got my SoClean.
SoClean is the world's first automated CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. It kills 99.9% of all CPAP germs and bacteria that can build up in your mask, hose, and reservoir.
I don't have to push a button or anything. I just put the mask in the chamber, close the lid, and it runs automatically. SoClean has been a lifesaver.
SoClean works on all popular CPAP machines and masks. Try it risk-free for 30 days. Even shipping is free. Call 1-800-217-4883 to take advantage of this limited time offer.
I don't think I would own a CPAP without my SoClean.
Try SoClean at no risk to you for 30 days. Shipping is free. Call 1-800-217-4883. That's 1-800-217-4883. Or go to trysoclean.com.
Cars for Kids needs your old vehicle. Maybe it runs, maybe it doesn't. We want it and we need it. Your old car, truck, or motorcycle can help with a new start for a kid in need when you donate to Cars for Kids. Here's how our program works. Donated cars are auctioned off and the proceeds go directly to support kids who have dropped out of high school. The CAN Academies are dropout prevention and recovery experts with a primary focus on reading and thinking. The CAN Academies have been in business since 1985 and have 14 campuses. So please donate today and help save a life. Here's what you get. Free towing, a tax deduction, and a $50 Visa gift card is our way of saying thank you. You also get the satisfaction of knowing you're helping get a kid back in school. Cars for Kids makes it easy. To donate or find out more, please call 866-835-5437. That's 866-835-5437. Or carsforkids.org. That's carsforkids.org. And remember, right off the car, not the kid.
Confused by all the weight loss plans out there? You're not alone. Before discovering Noom, I tried almost everything to lose weight. I changed diets, I changed exercises, I even changed personal trainers. But with Noom, I learned the one thing I really needed to change, my mind. Based in psychology, Noom uses small goals to help change the habits that have been holding you back. So you not only lose the weight, you learn how to keep it off. Start changing your mind, and the rest will follow. Visit Noom.com. That's Noom.com today and lose the weight for good.
Joe Biden spent decades sniffing the hair of strangers and delivering unwanted Eskimo kisses. Just tonight, 2 more women have come forward to say his touching made them uncomfortable. Biden is being attacked for all this by some, but so far, the people who matter, Nancy Pelosi and Valerie Jarrett, among many others, have defended the former vice president. Democratic presidential candidates aren't demanding he stay out of the race. It seems increasingly likely that Biden could survive these stories. Whatever happens to Biden, misconduct allegations increasingly dominate internal Democratic disputes. Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax is still combating sexual assault allegations from 2 separate women. In a new interview, one of those women says that Fairfax preyed upon her specifically because she'd been assaulted before. Tammy Bruce is a radio host and president of Independent Women's Voice, and she joins us tonight. Tammy, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, Tucker.
So I think that there's a lot to criticize about Joe Biden. I think he's weird. I think this behavior is creepy. On the other hand, I don't want to live in a country where people are afraid to hug each other, because I think hugging each other is a good thing.
Yeah, sure.
And then I also think the Democratic Party is appallingly hypocritical and power hungry. So I have all these conflicting emotions, and I hope that you will sort out these stories for us.
Well, I'll try, because what Joe Biden's doing, the average man, if he did it at work, would be fired. Okay. There is a difference between hugging somebody, and we've all been through that. Right. And in Mr. Biden's case, in the new case and also in the Flores case, there was a restraint of someone physically. In Flores' case, he restrained her by her shoulders. In other cases, he restrains women by holding their jawline or their neck area. And Ms. Flores described him coming up behind her, the Washington Post said he placed his hands on her shoulders. He was restraining her, and then he moved in to, and his face moved into her hair. It was an intimate action that you would normally reserve for loved ones, a spouse or someone you know and you love. And then after a while, he then slowly kissed the back of her head. That's not hugging someone. That's
you've really brought it into stark relief with that description.
And especially because you can also hug a man. Now, what we have never seen Joe Biden do is that very same thing to a man, because maybe he doesn't want to give the wrong impression or he doesn't want to be punched in the nose. But you usually, my advice to people have been in companies, if you wouldn't do it to a man, don't do it to a woman. That usually is your gauge if something's appropriate or not. And so in this particular case, of course we want to be able to have a demonstrative society. And this is not brain surgery. That and it's not about even your own intention. It's that why would you, if you would do something if someone is recoiling, if you have to restrain them in order to be able to do it, if you're doing it from behind, if you are, of course, this is what's fascinating with the Democratic Party. There are men who, whether it's Harvey Weinstein, which is an issue, of course, of rape, and certain issues of just sexual harassment, perhaps in this case with Mr. Biden, and other issues with Mr. Fairfax, is that these are men who claim to be the champions for women, who claim to be the facilitators like Joe Biden of the Violence Against Women Act. And yet that's the excuse that their defenders use. It's like, look at what they've done for us, and that has kept women from feeling comfortable talking about the nature of what's happened to them. It's an interesting dynamic that we have to be aware of.
No, I think that you just changed my mind on it completely. Right. Tammy, great to see you tonight. Thank you,
dear. Thanks for having me.
Jussie Smollett's fake hate crime was not the first time he's played around with a noose in order to make a political statement, amazingly. We have a great update, fascinating update on that story after the break.
The Final Four is on Sirius XM.
The dream has become reality.
Michigan State, Virginia, Auburn, and Texas Tech remain from a field of 68. Starting Friday, Sirius XM Channel 84 is in Minneapolis, talking to college basketball's biggest names and breaking down the games.
Michigan State soaring to the Final Four. For the first time ever, Auburn is going to the Final Four.
Hear every exciting second of Westwood One's Final Four coverage on Sirius XM Channel 84.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Mike Campbell here, serial entrepreneur. Here's what our payroll customer Laura thinks about us.
Patriot Software and their amazing team are a crucial part of our business. They handle the details of payroll and tax payments, so we can focus on delivering exceptional customer service to our own clients. Patriot's payroll is affordable, easy to use, and it keeps us organized. They're receptive to their customers and strive to demonstrate that each day. Without a doubt, we will be using their payroll services for many years to come. Thank you, Patriot Software. 5 stars.
Go to PatriotSoftware.com to get your payroll pricing for up to 100 employees. Use promo code XM and get 2 months of payroll processing free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Hey guys, Ken here from the award-winning podcast Today's Growth. If you had to choose sides, which camp would you rather be in? Would you rather have time and no money, or money and no time? Did you know that 95% of U.S. adults by choice have settled into these categories? Much more interesting is that 1 out of 20 people have built their life around achieving simultaneous control of both time and money. What choices did these 5% make that the others didn't? My friends at Income Store have shown both households and businesses how to build second, third, and even fourth revenue streams for the express purpose of gaining control of time. When it comes to helping folks create their next revenue model, both Forbes and Inc. recommend Income Store as a can't miss. Could your household or business use an additional revenue model that doesn't solely depend on you? If so, you need to check out IncomeStore.com. That's IncomeStore.com.
You're the family chef, but with homework, practices, email, getting a good meal on the table is tough. Sometimes the best choice is the easy choice. Delicious Bob Evans mashed potatoes and mac and cheese, made with ingredients like real milk, butter, potatoes, and cheese. Bob Evans sides are ready in the microwave in 6 minutes, and they're the perfect complement to any meal. Once your family tries them, it'll be love at first bite. Get Bob Evans sides today in the refrigerated section at your favorite grocery store.
Bob Evans down on the farm.
America's #1 cable news network. This is Fox News on Sirius XM Channel 114.
Well, Jussie Smollett famously hired 2 men to pour bleach on him and wrap a noose around his neck. He may have been trying to boost his career, but he was also willing to stoke race hatred in order to do it. But it wasn't the first time he used a noose. A new music video, which is actually an old music video, but recently dug up, of Jussie Smollett, shows that he's used the noose before. Matt Finn has the very latest on this development. Matt?
Tucker, Jussie Smollett's 2017 music video, FUW, which stands for Blanked Up World, shows a President Trump mask being run over and also a man with a noose behind his neck. Some similar themes to Smollett's alleged hate crime here in Chicago.
You won't keep us from loving.
Smollett's music video shows a President Trump mask being run over by a person in a wheelchair and also a man with a noose behind his neck, and clearly implies it's a messed up world because Mr. Trump is president. A portion of Smollett's lyrics read, quote, "Build a wall, it will keep us from loving each other. Rewrite the laws, it won't keep us from loving each other. Build a wall, it will keep us from loving each other. Never gonna build a wall." Jussie Smollett reported that his attackers in Chicago were President Trump supporters who put a noose around his neck and yelled, "This is MAGA country." Smollett stands by that story and innocence and says he was targeted because of his activism against the president. Chicago's mayor calls Smollett a liar. Chicago's police investigation concluded Smollett staged a hoax. There is also a federal investigation into alleged death threat letter that police say Smollett sent himself, which also has a MAGA return address. And right now, the city of Chicago is demanding that Jussie Smollett pay $130,000 in restitution, and the clock is ticking because the city's law department warns if he doesn't pay that within 7 days, it might bring new charges against the actor. Tucker.
Not much of a lyricist, apparently. Matt Finn from Chicago. Thanks, Matt. The Southern Poverty Law Center recently lost its founder, Morris Dees, and its president, Richard Cohen, after multiple allegations that the organization they ran had become a hotbed of sexual harassment, sexism, and racism. But that's not SPLC's only problem right now. It calls itself an anti-hate organization, but in fact, the SPLC strongly resembles a racket. They've amassed more than $500 million by calling any enemy of the Democratic Party a racist or an anti-gay bigot or whatever works in an effort to purge them from society. For doing all of that, they get an indirect government support because they're a tax-exempt entity. Senator Tom Cotton is a Republican, represents the state of Arkansas. He recently sent a letter to the IRS urging them to investigate the SPLC's tax-exempt status. Senator Cotton joins us tonight. Senator, thanks very much for coming on. So just the obvious question first. This is an organization, a small organization that has a $500 million endowment. How are they tax exempt exactly?
Yeah, so the Southern Poverty Law Center has over $500 million. About a quarter of that, Tucker, is parked in overseas accounts, as best we can tell. I don't know many charitable advisors say it's best practice to send your endowment to overseas accounts in the Caribbean. That's one reason why Charity Watch gives them an F rating, a very well deserved F rating. Because you said, Tucker, they've really become kind of a hate group themselves. They have this so-called hate map, and they use it to stigmatize their political opponents. You know, respectable center-right organizations like the Family Research Council, their Alliance Defending Freedom. It's fine if you don't agree with those organizations. There are plenty of groups on the left I don't agree with, but I don't try to stigmatize them as a hate group and then go peddle that to CNN, the New York Times, try to attack their donors.
Of course, and it's not a question of disagreement. I mean, you're not calling for lots of liberal organizations to lose their tax exemption, but if you are a clearly fraudulent organization that mismanages your money and you're basically running a for-profit organization, how do you keep your tax exemption?
And that's what I've asked the IRS to investigate. I mean, funding lawsuits, to include left-wing lawsuits, in what you think is the public interest, is a tax-exempt purpose. Serial repeated defamation against your political opponents is not a tax-exempt purpose. And then talking about misusing funds, Tucker, I mean, Morris Dees, the founder there, was paid $400,000 a year, apparently to do nothing other than consistently sexually harass young women working at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
And according to its own employees, commit acts of racism even as they claim to fight racism. So is there no body? So once you receive, as a procedural question, once you receive tax exemption from the Internal Revenue Service, do you just keep it forever?
So the Internal Revenue Service is responsible for adjudicating initial tax exemptions and then also reviewing it as well. That's why I've asked the IRS to review the Southern Poverty Law Center's tax exempt status. They were founded decades ago. They claim that their role was to fund lawsuits to eliminate the Democrat system of Jim Crow and segregation. Right. Now they've turned into just a serial defamer of their political opponents. That's why the IRS needs to relook at their tax exempt status.
And I hope they will. And what about Media Matters, which also has tax exempt status, but which was caught, I mean, without any question at all, coordinating with the Hillary Clinton for president campaign in violation of federal tax law, and yet they retained their
so tax-exempt charities should not be coordinating with any political campaign. They shouldn't be engaged in political activities. I think it says something about the Southern Poverty Law Center that they recently hired Tina Chen, the Jussie Smollett fixer, Michelle Obama's former chief of staff, to come on and fix their workplace culture, or perhaps to take advantage of the $500 million they have and form a super PAC to attack the president and the Republican Party next year in the election.
There's no body that can essentially audit the, I mean, what it needs is an audit, clearly.
It needs an audit very badly. I hope the IRS will do that as part of their investigation and unveil to the American people that Southern Poverty Law Center has become nothing but a racket that's designed solely to slander and defame its political opponents.
So the IRS was caught under President Obama hurting conservatives, refusing to grant their organizations tax exemption for purely political reasons. And no one was ever really punished for that. Can you get them to pay attention to your request, do you think?
I certainly hope we can. The letter that I sent today is just the first step I'm taking to try to get the IRS focused on this serious problem. You have, again, a $500 million so-called charity that has systematic racial and sexist discrimination problems. And at the same time, it's simply using that money to target its political opponents. Yeah. That's not what American taxpayers are subsidizing when we give people tax-exempt status. We give those things to churches or adoption shelters or shelters for battered women, not to defame your political opponents, sexually harass every woman that works in your office, and discriminate against minorities.
It'd be nice to get the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ over there. You know, maybe they could do what they did with Roger Stone.
Or the Department of Labor or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Senator Cotton, it's great to see you tonight. Thank you very
Tucker.
much.
Yeah.
Student loans have crushed an entire generation of young Americans. That's why they're not buying homes or cars or getting married or having kids. Meanwhile, colleges are richer than they've ever been. Shouldn't they have some skin in the game? We'll debate that with a college professor after the break.
Faction Talk on Sirius XM with comedian Jim Norton and host Sam Roberts in the morning.
Listeners like being spoken down to.
Oh boy, you're going to enjoy this, baby. Sirius XM's Covino and Rich.
The conversation about butt cheeks? Such a buffoon.
Former pro skateboarder Jason Ellis.
I don't like to toot my own horn, but I'm probably the best there ever was. So if you don't like it, then it's probably your problem.
And comedian Ron Bennington.
I could live like a vampire. The only problem is I don't have the build for it.
Faction Talk is on Sirius XM, channel 103.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a SelectQuote agent with a true story of how SelectQuote goes to bat for you buying term life insurance. A while back, a man called me who had had prostate cancer. He asked if I could beat a very high quote another life insurance agent had given him. I said, let me see. Well, I took his pertinent information, then shopped the highly rated, price-competitive companies we represent, and found one who pre-approved him for a premium way below what he had been quoted. When it comes to term life insurance, no other company touches SelectQuote's experience and expertise in finding the right policy at the right price for almost anyone. How about you?
For your free quote, call 800-935-6700. That's 800-935-6700. 800-935-6700. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save.
Hi, I'm Raymond Denon, Vice President of Optima Tax Relief. If you're in debt to the IRS, there's a lot you need to know.
starting with rule number 1, don't mess with the IRS. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, even take your home or business. That's all true. But it's also true that there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. It's one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, even tens of thousands. Nobody knows this program like us, the experts at Optima Tax Relief. We have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we've resolved over $500 million in tax debt for our clients. We'll stand between you and the IRS and fight to get you the best deal possible. Don't mess with the IRS. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima for a free consultation.
Call 800-725-9935. 800-725-9935. 800-725-9935.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
For many professional truck drivers, having the predictability and familiarity of a dedicated run is crucial to success. At Rail Transport, we appreciate and understand. We currently have dedicated opportunities around the country for dry, refrigerated, flatbed, and even curtainside drivers. These dedicated runs offer frequent home time, consistent miles, and high earnings. To find a dedicated driving job in your area, visit rail.jobs. That's ROEHL.jobs. Rail.jobs.
Weeknights, Laura Ingraham is taking on issues with a pragmatic stance. It's the Ingraham Angle. Weeknights at 10 p.m. East, 7 West on Fox News Channel, Sirius XM Channel 114. Howard Schultz Town Hall. The former Starbucks CEO speaks out on a potential presidential run and delivers his strategy for America's most pressing issues. Thursday, Brett and Martha anchor live from Kansas City, Missouri. Watch America's election headquarters, Town Hall with Howard Schultz.
America's total student loan debt now exceeds $1.5 trillion. That makes it the largest source of personal debt in the country after home loans. That debt falls overwhelmingly on this country's middle-class young people. That's the group least able to afford it. The average graduate owes almost $40,000 by the time college is over. Many owe hundreds of thousands. Some never even received degrees, but they still owe the money. And thanks to an extensive lobbying campaign here in Washington, student loans are the only form of debt that cannot be erased by bankruptcy. Kids are stuck with it for life. Colleges love this deal. They're getting rich from it. There's no risk to them at all. 100 American universities now have billion-dollar endowments. They've doubled their administrative staffs. It's hard to see why this isn't a scam. Here's an easy fix to it. Make colleges co-sign their student loans. Give them some skin in the game. What exactly is the argument against that? Well, to find out, we've invited Austin Goolsbee. He chaired Barack Obama's Council of Economic Advisors. He now works at the University of Chicago, and we're happy to have him tonight. Austin, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, great to see you again, Tucker.
So I'm not making an argument against college or against student loans, against education. I'm just wondering how we have a system where for colleges there's only upside. They get federally backed student loans, and they've gotten very rich from it, but they share none of the risk. So why wouldn't colleges co-sign every student loan for their students?
Well, let me say I applaud your paying attention to this. Getting people a higher level of educational attainment is one of the most important things for economic growth in this country. Now, I think you've gotten a little off track perhaps on the details of these. The first is nonprofit, not-for-profit universities don't get rich. For-profit educational institutions have become a way disproportionate share of the student loan defaults and are absolutely one of the biggest problems that's going here. But that's different from the big endowment
but hold on.
schools.
But no, haven't gotten rich. You work at a university that has an $8.2 billion endowment, whose president makes almost $2 million a year. You've gotten rich from it. Drive to the University of Chicago. It's in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the country. 40% of the people in your neighborhood are below the poverty line. So you're rich from it. It's federally backed. Students have to live with that debt for the rest of their lives till they pay it off, but you are not on the hook for it. So why wouldn't you co-sign the loan? It's super simple.
Okay. I'll give you. Why would you not put co-signing responsibilities onto the universities?
Yeah.
Because that would lead the universities to then do a credit check and deny the student loans to exactly the kinds of people who don't have family income. They would become a higher risk credit.
Why would the University of Chicago discriminate against poor people with bad credit histories. You've got an $8.2 billion endowment. Why would you discriminate like that?
Tucker, as you know, when they use the endowment for financial aid, that's a different proposition than co-signing for a loan. Just if you had a mortgage.
I'm sorry. I just want to ask this question because I think it's really important, and you're not really answering it.
I agree.
So you're saying that you can't co-sign the loan because you would discriminate against people who might not pay it back.
Can't co-sign
so they should be stuck with it.
You would want to take the lowest financial risk if you're signing up financial aid. The University of Chicago does not make the loans, as you know, Tucker.
I'm aware. The U.S. government now does, thanks to Obama, and U.S. taxpayers back those loans up. So basically, you're outsourcing the risk to taxpayers.
Is where the defaults are happening.
Because of lobbying from you guys and other billion-dollar endowment schools, kids are stuck with these loans. They can't get out of them with bankruptcy.
You're right to be concerned about the for-profit education
I'm not concerned.
sector.
I'm right to call you guys out for the scam you're perpetrating.
For-profit schools are approaching 50%.
You're trying to shift the blame.
Massively disproportionate share of the student loan.
And I'm not defending the University of Phoenix. What I'm doing is asking why you work at a school with an $8.2 billion endowment in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the country. Okay, talk about rich and poor. And you're saying you won't co-sign the loans because you don't feel like it. And I'm saying, Tucker, maybe you could help a little bit.
If you want to make the payback of loans tied that you would get forgiveness of loans, for example, if you entered a public sector job or if you took a job where your future income would not be high, I think that is a valid point that we should look at.
But why aren't you helping? You're asking taxpayers to help. And by the way, what about I just got to ask, I've always wondered this. As you walk out of the University of Chicago into a neighborhood where 40% of the people almost live below the poverty line, do you ever think maybe we should let them eat in the cafeteria? Can people from the neighborhood eat in the cafeteria at Chicago?
I live there, Tucker. Yes, there's a pay cafeteria at the campus, and anyone can walk in and go to Taco Bell or wherever they want to eat.
Can they go to classes, too?
If they pay tuition.
No, but they're poor. 40% live below the poverty line. Right next to your school with the $8 billion endowment.
I live in the neighborhood, Tucker. You went to an elite college. You went to elite schools.
I'm just asking, what are you doing to help?
What is like the neighborhood?
Well, I don't know.
It is open to the public. You have to
so
be
they can go to your
admitted
classes.
to the school.
The poor people can go to your classes at Chicago? They can just walk in and go?
If they are enrolled as students, they can go to my class.
If they pay
$77,000 like every other school
a year
in the country.
Right.
The majority of students, Tucker, in this country, in college, are at community colleges and junior colleges.
Right. No, but you want to shift the blame. I'm talking about the most prosperous, the most fortunate college is the one that you work at.
Which means
and I'm asking what you're doing to help, and you're saying nothing, not really anything to help.
The student loan problem, Tucker, schools like the ones you went to or the ones I went to are not the student loan problem in this country.
You're not the problem.
That's not where the default rates are.
It's not a problem for you. $8.2 billion endowment. It sounds like no problem at all. It sounds great.
Here we go again. You want to tax endowments,
I don't want to tax.
But you don't want to tax
I just want you to pay your fair share and stop lecturing America about how it's immoral while you get $8.2 million sitting in a bank account and the neighborhood around you is impoverished.
Tucker. You went to the elite schools of this country.
I did.
What we should focus on is making college affordable and making it so that people can pay back their loans.
All right.
And that means not cutting their financial aid.
Make college affordable. So tuition has risen much faster than inflation. It's $77,000 to go to Chicago.
Not if you want to make it in Chicago, but yes.
University of Chicago is $77,000, at least as of today. Why haven't you kept it down to $30,000 since you've got $8.2 billion in your endowment?
They have given literally billions of dollars of financial aid for people who have middle and low incomes so that they don't pay that list price. I don't think that people like you, for example, Tucker, who could afford to pay the full amount, should have your children going with the subsidy from the other students. They should use the money from the endowment
middle-class people
to
get
pay
stuck with
for
that
low
number,
and middle income
You're
students.
Ripping them off, and you know that you are. And I hope at least there's some effort to make the problem that you created a little better. That's all I'm asking.
The statistics. If you get a college degree, you make $25,000 a year more every year for the rest of your life on average.
That's true in some places. 40% of flight attendants have college degrees.
That is on average in
40% of flight attendants have college degrees. The median wage is $50,000 a year. Tell me that's a good deal for them. It's not. It's a ripoff.
You know what, Tucker? I agree with you. Let's reinstate the gainful employment rules so that people who can't make back the money to pay off their student loans do not get ripped off by for-profit education providers.
All right. Austin Goolsbee, we're out of time. I wish we had more time. I'll see you at the cafeteria at Chicago. Thank you.
It's always fun to debate you, Tucker.
That's it for us tonight. Another hour gone. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m., the show that is the sworn enemy of lying, pomposity, smugness, and groupthink, on the one channel where anchors get to say what they really think, where there is no party line, where we are free. And we're grateful you're watching that channel. Good night from Washington. We have a special surprise for you tonight. At 9 o'clock this evening, 18 seconds from now, from New York City, we want to introduce a man we're calling Sean Hannity.
Thank you. By the way, isn't Austin the nicest guy? He's wrong on everything. It's unbelievable.
It's a scam. $8.2 billion in their endowment, and they're crushing an entire generation with student debt that we're backing? No, it's a scam.
All right, Tucker, great show. Good to see you.
Sean.
All right. Welcome to Hannity. Buckle up. Tonight, a system-wide meltdown at our southern border. This is real. Now, that according to senior DHS officials, they are sounding the alarm about the very real crisis now spiraling out of control this very hour in a major way. Illegal immigration is surging. Border Patrol is expected to make 100,000 apprehensions this month alone. The majority of those taken into custody are family units or accompanied minors. One senior official telling Fox News tonight that the volume of migrants is unsustainable. Major ports of entry are now facing serious backlogs. Hundreds of trucks delivering important cargo wait around to be processed. U.S. border personnel are